a dip in your hip, a glide in your stride. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe, with shows throughout the week. Everything you want, everything you could need. From the paranormal to the supernatural, from the spiritual to the unknown, from emotions to comedy. You can find us at Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and so much more. This is Rift Nation Network, the RNN. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
Sensitive/offensive content disclaimer. Please note that this podcast may contain material that some listeners may find sensitive, offensive, or disturbing. We strive to create respectful and informative content, but topics discussed may include mature themes such as violence, explicit language, or controversial subjects, triggering content including discussions related to mental health, trauma, or other sensitive issues, explicit language. Occasionally, our guests or hosts may use strong language. While we aim to handle these topics with care and empathy, we encourage listeners to exercise discretion. If you find any content distressing, consider skipping or seeking support. Remember that this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need assistance, please consult a qualified expert.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Oh, wait, oops. Oh, we're starting off to a good, I am such a slacker tonight. Welcome. Come on in. Welcome to the Rift Nation Network. We are streaming live tonight on Twitch, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. Come on in, you guys. Another true crime Wednesday evening with mysteries beyond the scenes. I hope everybody's doing well. Prayers out to our friends. Oh my goodness. Remember, you guys, last week we were like, we got to watch this storm. And it was headed up here, but prayers out to our friends in Western North Carolina, Kentucky, Virginia, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida. Everybody, good luck, best of luck. We're with you guys. And I know all of our search and rescue folks are out there helping, and, they're earth angels. They are earth angels. So welcome. Come on in, you guys. Welcome again. And thanks, Keith, for getting everybody shared out. Hello, Howie. Welcome, travelers. Good evening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, Rift Nation Network, go on over to the Facebook page, Rift Travelers page, and hit the like button over there and follow us over there. So another baby story that is heartbreaking tonight, you guys. This one, and I know Miss Gina reached out this week, and she had followed this case. Now, this actually, honestly, was the first time I had ever heard of this case. We had little baby Monkey Vaughn out in this area. And Monkey has never been found. And we did a show on him. And this show reminded me of this little one. So we're going to get to this one. And anybody that's got any additional information, I'm going to give you guys the straight up on this before you even get started into what the astrology showed us. This has a lot of twists and turns, like a lot of true crime does. Stories differ, nothing new. We hear this, we hear that. Somewhere in between is the truth. Unfortunately, it's just a very tragic. Whenever they're little ones, it breaks your heart. It's heartbreaking, irregardless. And you guys know here on this show, we leave whoever had anything to do with this, whether it was an accident, whether it was something a little bit other than that, we allow law enforcement to do their work. And I think, and I'll show you in the astrology, I think he's going to be found. Remember, we always know that when things show up in the 10th house in astrology, it's out in the open. That usually is where law enforcement really is doing a lot behind the scenes that we don't know about. And this case has gone on since for a long time. It's been going on since 2015. So let's get into it, you guys. Welcome. Come on in. Hello, Denise, Linda, everybody. Come on in. I hope everybody's doing well. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, we use forensic astrology. It's like a natal chart, but we call it an event chart. We take, for example, this particular case when the baby or when the call was placed to the police when he disappeared, to use that as the timestamp. The timestamp has to be accurate. I don't think in this case the timestamp is all that accurate. I think it was chaos. I'm not sure. And if anybody knows in the chat, please correct me and let me know. And if you have a better timestamp than the one I'm using, we'll use that one as well. I used two of them. I used 1:30 p.m. and I used the 2:35 p.m. time for when he went missing. But as you can see on the cover photo, that's mom and dad, and there's baby Deorr. Just darling, a little tiny thing, always smiling. All of his pictures, he's like Monkey Vaughn, a lot like baby Elijah. I mean, they capture our hearts. The timestamp we need is when he was actually last seen. And I know that's hard. I used the 2:35 when she called the police. And I used I found a 1:30 timestamp where they felt that that's when he disappeared from Grandpa. So if you got another one for me, give it to me and I'll keep working on it. He's just precious. Let's get started on this, you guys, because I'm going to also hone in on our oracle cards, as always, from Ashley, the Reckoning Company. And we're going to hone in and ask the cards if where the map shows us where his possible remains could be, how close we are. So I'm sorry I'm being a slacker tonight. Usually my background is a little bit better, but are you guys having one of those weeks? I know it's an eclipse week where it's like, I'm just going to, it's not tired, but it's just kind of, So I had one of those, so I apologize for that. So I'll keep the chat open. Let's get started. Okay, you guys, every week, what we do is we put down information. Let me get out of here so you can see it. Information that is free of charge and websites for people that have missing loved ones that they can, contact and get either search and rescue, any kind of missing posters, any kind of information. thefindproject.com. thefindproject.com. So that's one of them. That's another one to add to your list. And also we have familiesofthemissing.com. No one disappears alone. So we have two really good sites to go to. So if you know anybody it's a family that needs help, they help with everything. So there we've got two more to add to our list of like at least 10 now, I think, this week. So let's get started, you guys. Now, this again is we're going back. We are going back. I'm going to get this bigger so I can read it better. We are going back, you guys, to July the 9th of 2015. How many people are really familiar with this case? I know Justice for Baby Deorr, and I'm sorry I spelled it wrong, Baby Deorr. She said 130 is pretty good. However, it depends on if one or more people who saw him last. That's what I ran into a lot, Justice, was the fact that, we've got, I'll give you guys a little background on this case. Hi, Ruru. I'm glad you're here because you can help me with this chart. Okay, Ruru? So the fact with this case, you guys, I'm gonna use the name so we don't get mixed up. We've got mom, dad, baby Deorr, who is 2, grandpa, and grandpa's friend. They went camping, and we've got pictures of this beautiful. I mean, what a gorgeous place to go camping. They left on July the 9th. Okay, they arrived later that night on the 9th, went to sleep. And then the next day is when baby Deorr went missing on July the 10th. However, we've gone through 2 private investigators, and Justice, correct me if I'm wrong, but now the one private investigator is now back working the case, correct? So we have one PI that said one thing, another PI that said another thing, and I think they're both very reputable PIs. So I think there's a lot of behind the scenes things that we just probably don't really know about. So let's get into kind of the details. And if you guys want to fill in some of the blanks for me, I would appreciate it. That would be great. So this is it's called Timber Creek Campground. And I hope I pronounced this right. Leorde is the little town that's about 10 miles away. And that's the closest to the Timber Creek campgrounds in Idaho. This is the beautiful backwoods. This is the beautiful country. This is God's country out here. So let's get started. There's the campground. I'm going to hide the chat real quick like that, the overlay. And there he is. Little Deorr Kunz went missing from the Timber Creek campground near Leorde, Idaho on July the 10th, 2015. And of course, they've done the age progression on him. What a darling child. Look at that. Now, his date of birth was December 30th, 2012. This weekend, I'm also going to run his natal chart and see what was happening on July the 10th, 2015. Leodore. Oh, that's pretty. See, Kentucky, we would call it. In Kentucky, we'd say Leodore. Leodore. That's pretty. Leodore, Idaho. So this is our picture of our little Deorr, baby Deorr. Absolutely precious. Okay, and Gina Leodore, thank you. Forensic Astro. Justice, that's the one I couldn't remember his name, Klein. David Marshburn was supposed to have been there twice in the last 2 months as well. Okay, so we know that there are, and Justice for baby Deorr, Justice says Klein is back on. So yes, we do. You know what? And in the astrology, and I'm going to show you guys, and Rue and Gina, please chime in on the astrology, the event chart when I pull it up. when we have things up at the top of the chart, it might not be 5 years, it might be 6, but he is going to be found. So, I mean, you can't ever lose hope. But, every picture I've seen with this child is just what a precious little one. Here's a picture of him. And here he is with his mama. Just a beautiful boy, little thing. First PI was Frank Vilt, who thought mom gave him away. Okay, now, Justice, I'm going to show you in the astrology event chart, there is a formula for abduction or something similar to that. It did not show up in the astrology. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't possibilities, but as far as the astrology chart, it didn't show up. So that's a good thing. Second PI Klein, who was sued off the case and is back on, believes mom and dad know. Third so there were 3 PIs. Wow. Third PI is David Marshburn, believes Isaac did it. Isaac is the friend, you guys. Isaac is the friend of the family. So there was one thing that did show up in the chart that mentioned that the baby was with the friend. And that's all it says, is that the baby was with the friend. So he was not abducted. No, not in that area. Taken by an animal, they would have found him. They would have found it or gotten lost or possibly an accident. I'll show you guys what the chart has shown. It's pretty interesting. If you guys, know this case as well as I'm sure you do inside and out, if you can give me some timestamps, I'll continue working it up and doing the mapping on it for you guys. I'd be happy to help. Now, this is the map, you guys, where they were in the area. If you look to the bottom, south, that's the reservoir. Now, all along this campground, all along this campground is a creek, a pretty strong creek. And I've got pictures of it. So I want to show you guys the underbrush on the creek, okay? Shoes would be Pisces. So this is the picture of the campground where he disappeared from. Okay, the short and long of the story is that Grandpa was an elderly gentleman, and mom and dad left baby Deorr in Grandpa's care. That's one of there are several stories. So you can't really, there are several stories. It's hard to pin down what actually happened. One was dad was working on the car. The other, dad went to the fishing hole with the friend. So there's a lot of different stories. So we'll just take the main story that was given at first, was that before lunch, mom and dad went up to the store, which was about 10 miles away. They came back, and Grandpa and friend had caught fish. So they were excited about it, and friend wanted to go fishing. So friend took mom and dad to the fishing area. Okay. Took mom and dad to the fishing area and left in the care of Grandpa. Grandpa has subsequently passed away and stated that, the baby was right there. When they were coming back to get the baby and noticed he was gone, and then panic ensued. Mom started to call 911. Of course, I think that call was placed around 2:35. And you know what would happen then? All of the search and rescue shows up. That's another thing. From the time the child allegedly is gone to the time that law enforcement and search and rescue seemed like they activated very quickly and started to search, There was not a big, huge time frame. Now, I've had a 2-year-old boy. You guys know as well as I do, you can turn your head in the blink of an eye, and we've talked about this so much on the show. You can turn your head in the bat of an eye and they're gone. We know that. But you can't rule that out. You can't rule out that Grandpa was elderly and Grandpa probably wasn't, was Grandpa not paying that much of attention? Or did something occur on Thursday evening? Did something occur on Friday? Was there an accident? There's all kinds of stuff, but that's kind of neither here or there. We map it. We want to find the little one. What strikes me funny is Mom and Dad have since parted ways in 2016. The baby, which that's not very uncommon when there's a missing child. Usually relationships do fall apart. It's pretty unusual for them to stay together. But neither one they have stuck to their stories that something, accidental happened to the baby. Neither one has turned on one another, which, in my mind too, I'm thinking, well, if either one of them were responsible, wouldn't they tell on the other one? Maybe not. That's another thought process, something to think about. But, yeah. What if a parent was right? And, or what if a parent was last to see him and the grandpa story was fabricated? Exactly. There are so many what ifs with this one. You just don't know. Now, when I was doing this chart, I thought of alcohol. I thought, I wonder if Grandpa drank. Okay. Well, the chart showed us, and I'm going to show you guys that issue. But, we don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm not really guessing. I'm going by the chart. Okay, here's the campground. As you can see over to the right area is where we go down to the creek. Okay. So there's the fire pit. There's the camp area. Okay, Justice, here we go. Justice added something. Here we go. They have turned on each other. Mom threw Dad under the bus and said he never went to the creek with her and Isaac. Okay, now that would change a lot. There are stories that Dad was up at the campsite working on the truck. So see that the stories, you guys, have changed so much. And there have been a lot of law enforcement did do polygraphs, and they did not pass. Some didn't pass. But again, with polygraphs, they don't use them in court. And there's a reason why. So I don't put too much stock into them. Lee has never been proven that he was even at the campground. They stopped at a restaurant before going up, and no one at the restaurant could corroborate their story that the child was with them. There we go. And think about it, you guys, back in 2015, we didn't have the Ring cameras that we have now, correct? We don't have those now. I wonder and Justice, you would probably know this. Are there any sightings of the baby on any cameras that were around the campground area, either coming in at the store, 10 miles away, or anything? Are there any cameras that show the baby that even prove that he went there? I think he did, and I'm going to show you why. Okay, this is the reservoir, you guys. So we now know that the creek and the camping area goes down into this big reservoir. Crap. Look at this. Of course not. No cameras at all. Well, we just keep plugging at it. No sightings at all. Not from any other campers or anything. Okay. Poor little. Okay. What a beautiful place to go camping, too. Okay. Now, here are pictures of the creek. Okay. You guys call it a creek. Kentucky, we call it a creek. As you can see, there are parts of that creek that are pretty heavy flowing. Now, have any of you all in the chat ever been to this area that you would know what the water flow was on July the 10th in 2015? Was it going crazy like that? Or look at now, and you all know as well as I do, a 2-year-old, I know my 2-year-old boy where he would have gone. He would have gone right to that water. Not thought twice. Okay, see now, look at this. Look at parts of this area. Now, look at now, I want you to pay close attention to something. Look at the terrain and the brush underneath the water flow. Now, you talk about something that's very, very hard for search and rescue. And I know this, I don't want to sound, well, I'm going to say it, but this is a small child. This is a little person. So if there were an accident, and if the child did fall in and drowned and did get caught up under this brush, he was a little man, he's a little guy. That would be very hard to find. Now, I did read Justice and Forensic Astro that dogs hit around the reservoir. Is that true? Do you know that for a fact? Did they, did the dogs, the cadaver dogs, hit around the reservoir area? It was not a fast-moving creek in July, but in other months it can be fast. However, there are dams everywhere in that creek. Yeah, I think they tore the creek up. I'm sure they did. Did the dogs, do you guys know if the cadaver dogs, or there were any hits in the area? Okay, so as you all know, they brought out the team. They brought out the cadaver. They brought out everything. Cadaver dogs. Okay, so interesting. Only at the campsite. Now, I had read, and it's very hard to, when you go and investigate this case, and you guys have probably been with it since the beginning, so you know it like the back of your hand, that one of the PIs, does he have a dog that hit? I thought that one of the PI's cadaver dogs hit at the reservoir. That's kind of like the Sebastian Rogers case right now. We don't know if a dog hit or not. We need the DNA thing out there. Okay. Now, new information was collected a year later, okay? Evidence and information gathered in another search will be analyzed. That was a year following his disappearance. However, no one has been charged in this case. But they did find evidence, but of course, they would not elaborate on what the evidence was. No signs of him. And so that was, and nothing, I could not find any more additional evidence since then. Okay, so they picked up in 5 areas, one being the diaper tree, one being near in camp, another was where Dad called 911 1.5 miles away in an area down the road outside. Okay. Dave Marshburn had his dog hit the very first time he went years ago. Okay. Marshburn's dogs hit where Klein's team did. Was that near the reservoir? Original dogs used were tracking scent dogs. So they didn't use cadaver dogs for another year? It's odd. Okay. Well, I'm sure the weather gets bad in the winter. Okay, Rue, are you in here still? I'm going to make this bigger. So this is the chart at 115. Now, I didn't load up the chart at 235, but I like the 235 chart better. And I also mapped it off the 235 chart. Okay, if you notice where I see if I can get this up here if you guys can see this a little better. Okay. In a forensic astrology chart, we use what we call event charts. Baby Deorr would be identified because of his younger age just by the moon. Okay. But I also use we use the ascendant. So we use the moon and the ascendant, which is Libra, as the co-ruler. That would be the planet of Venus. Okay. If you look at the green arrows, those are what are identifying baby Deorr. So we've got Venus up there, possibly with someone he knows, possibly a larger guy. And the purple were some things that I found very interesting. Remains, okay, if you look in the house marked number 2, remains are identified by Saturn. That's bones. That is, and I circled Scorpio. That is like a marshy, swampier, muddier, gross type of an area. Okay. If you notice where the other arrow is Pluto, and that's a P. Okay. Do you see the P with the other arrow in the 4th house? That could be where the chaos or something could have occurred at home or at the location they were at. Okay. Location being the 5th house, which would be the campground. So it runs straight up to the sun, which would be an older man by water. Instantly, I thought out in the open with Grandpa. That's where an accident could have occurred. Uranus, which is accidents. Those are unexpected events. Those are things that just happen out of the blue. It's in the 7th house. And it connects to Grandpa, Mercury, which could be a child, and Mars, which would have been something violent could have happened. Looking at this chart, just by looking at this chart, and you can go pretty deep into it, and if I get a good timestamp, I'll continue to work on it. Neptune would have been alcohol or drugs. It could have been alcohol or drugs. Neptune down in the 5th house is campground. 5th house is where we enjoy things, what we like to do. It's campgrounds. It's golf courses. It's ball fields. It's majestic buildings. Connect right up to the elderly man. This was out in the open. Okay. They're right next to a fixed star called Castor, which is accidental death. Okay, that's another signature of death. We also have Neptune near with Pisces, which is water. We've got Grandpa up. I'm going to assume it's Grandpa because he was the elderly man, up with Cancer, which is again water. And then we've got remains in like a marshy type of an area, which would be Scorpio. That's Rue. Do you see anything I'm missing? Pluto is at the IC. At the bottom, I circled IC. The IC is an angle of the fourth house. It's the end of the matter. The end of the matter. So Pluto's sitting right at that IC is, just the death. Yeah, I hate to say that because he's just such a darling child. Now, involvement with family. Okay, there's something to look for when we think involvement with family. It is the fourth house ruler. Okay. No, it's not. In the fifth house, not there. That would be an abduction. Okay, Pluto would be in the fifth house. That would signify an abduction. Okay, so when we look for other signatures, when we look up stuff in our book, look at that up in the ninth house. Ninth house is campground. It's outdoors. So the chart is really speaking to us. I mean, because they only mean certain things. So they're all at the campground. At 1:15, I don't think anything nefarious was happening. It could have been, it looks like accidental to me. If I were to guess and say, according to the chart, it looks accidental to me. I'd like to have Rue's opinion on it, but that's just what I think, according to that particular timestamp. Now, if you guys can get me other timestamps, now the 230 chart, I wrote all over it, and you can see it. I'll kind of put it up there. It's pretty well the same thing with the remains, end of the matter, campground, unexpected. Older man was right there. The public awareness and the authorities, there's stuff up at the top of that chart. I think he's going to be found. I would put money on. I like the feel of this new guy coming in to help them. Let's look at the map. Okay. Here's the map where they and Justice. I can email me, and I'll email you all of this. They were said to go back at 1:10 from store, sat around, and then to the creek. That's where the story gets messy, very messy. But do we have any witnesses that saw them we don't have witnesses that saw them at the store with the baby. Are there witnesses that saw him, the baby? I think so too. Okay, Rue's in agreement with me on this chart. Rue is in agreement with me. Now, fifth house is addictions too. Okay. Neptune, we've got 3 lines headed up to Grandpa. So I hate to say that, but older person. The older person, I think for sure, drinking or drugs, but Okay, so this is the mapping from the 235 chart. As you can see, and we follow the lines, okay? Where are interesting places to look? All the way over in this area. You can see where the lines are together. It's kind of like they're pizza slices within the wedges, places of interest. The ascendant gives us the mileage, okay, or the IC. It's less than 1/4 of a mile. Now, it's either 1/4 of a mile or 25 miles or 2.5 miles. Yeah, anything is possible. Yeah, we'll go through the chat too when we're done. Accident at home and then to the campground. I don't think people would drive 2 hours, 3 hours to, you never know. Okay, I zoomed up a little bit. Now, this is the line that I found the most interesting, where I would definitely look in this area. Where that area is, it runs right along that reservoir and all down through that creek bed. That's the line I would search, and I would tear. I know it's been torn up. I would tear it up again. I mean, I know they've looked, and I know they've looked. But that, you guys, that. Okay, here we go. And we also have a line that heads right up to the store. Okay, so this chart is pretty spot on because we do show movement from the store back and up to the store. Okay, Deorr. So they did go to Deorr, and we know that. So this chart, I think this mapping is accurate because we do have confirmation that they went up to that area and back. Okay, my bad. So here we go. Here is the map, a little bit closer in. All this area around, that's where I would look with the water. And that, to me, it's a big area, you guys. It's a big area. Justice, I can definitely email these to you guys. And I can email you guys anything you need with this. And you can look at all that line. And I put that yellow arrow up at that area up there. And I'm sure they searched it. I'm sure it's been searched thousands of times. But again, this is like a needle in a haystack. This is a little tiny little one where he could have really gotten stuck up underneath. The chart does indicate with Cancer and with Pisces, water. That could be the water around him. But I don't think so. But gosh, it's a frustrating case. Okay, and here's the other chart again. And this is just the general area. I like that line that goes right through this area. Right there. And this is done off of the 230 chart. This is the 230 chart. So, okay, let's see what. Oh, I'm trying to. Okay, here you go. It's a good chart. Rue, what do you think, Rue? Did you see anything in this chart that I missed? What do you think? Okay, we'll let Rue answer, and let's go through the chat and see what you guys have to say. And welcome. Thank you, Justice, and thank you, Astro, for coming in and filling in. It's just wonderful. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Miss Tammy. Miss Gina. No, I do not. No, I do not, hun. If you've got it, please email it to me. And I'll work on it this weekend. Please email it to me if you've got it. No. I'm being lazy, Linda. 1:30 is a pretty good time for last seen, according to Isaac. However, it depends on if one or more people who saw him last. Yeah, we've read. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, girls, for joining, friend Astro and Justice. Thank you guys so much. It was like that all week, finally coming out of the rut. I know. Girl, I'm telling you. And we got Miss Rue and Forensic. I'm his. Okay. Justice, wonderful. I'm his main advocate. God love your heart. You're an angel. You're an earth angel, my friend. Okay. And do you all like this guy? This Klein? See, I seemed impressed by him. Okay, and here's Gina. Justice, that's when I couldn't remember his name. Okay. They've had 3 PIs. Yeah, I don't think it was an animal. I don't think it was an abduction. Yeah, within the neighborhood, absolutely. Yeah, third. Yeah, within close proximity. The ninth would be like the highway. Absolutely. Nothing was found. No shoes were found. Nothing. Boots. And he was wearing, check this out, you guys. He was wearing oversized boots. And they weren't found. Odd. There's a lot of odd. There's a lot of things. Or what if a parent was last to see him and the grandpa story was fabricated? Or grandpa was snapping, or grandpa may have been, I'm seeing the baby about 10 miles from the campsite in a mine shaft. Mine shaft. Well, I'll map it from 10 miles. Do you think it's in that area? We'll map it and look for a mine shaft. Didn't think of saying he didn't realize that they asked him to watch him. And I recall they all said they were only gone 15 minutes and came back up. And Lee says, was he actually even at the campground? Good question. They've turned on each other. So sad. Okay, he did. Okay, he did drink. That's good to know because that showed up. Yeah. And I think he did that day. And that could explain Justice a lot of the confusion with Grandpa. He was at the campground. They stopped at a restaurant and nobody saw them out. They tore that creek up, forensic, only at the campsite. Okay, you guys. David Marshburn had his dog hit the first time he went years ago. Interesting. And Justice, I don't believe it was at the reservoir, did, however, but not cadavers. Lee, he was reported wearing blue jammy pants, t-shirt, cowboy boots, and a camo jacket. Very much harder to spot, with a canine, with a camo. Yeah, that's tough. And Lee, has anyone thought that a deceased body could have been taken to campground, then placed in? Absolutely, I'm sure. Hi, Miss Kathy. Accident at home. There are so many possibilities that could have occurred here. That's a good idea, Linda. Would they have been able to search any of the large pipes underwater in the reservoir? Remember the young man, I hate to say it, that was caught in the underwater pipes? And we did the mapping on that, and I looked up underwater pipes, and sure enough, it was the chart. I need to look at that. Justice, do you guys and Astro, have you guys thought of that? Okay. Rue, I think accident. Yeah, it is, isn't it, Tammy? Tammy, what do you think? Your search and rescue with the cadaver dog. What do you think with that kind of terrain and those sticks? Would the dogs have found? Would that have been a tough area to search? We'll get search and rescue's opinion on that. Only thing I've got tonight's right when you start talking at the beginning of the show, I got the word mom. Cave-like areas, same underneath dams. Could have gotten into one of those. I know. When I looked at those pictures, I thought of that, Keith, too. Don't know about the pipes under the reservoir. I'll look on the chart. I'll look again on the chart. And please add on, you guys. DBA. What's DBA, Lee? Okay. I don't know what DBA is. Okay, here we go. Here comes from Tammy. And now Tammy is search and rescue in South Texas with Bach, her cadaver dog. Well, I would say due to his size, some pretty rough terrain, it would be a tough search. Would be a very tough search. They need the Gizmo DNA machine up there with Dr. Voss's machine. Did you know what? Please tell us about that. Did you see that? What did Grandpa confess to? Was this a deathbed confession? Was that a death confession? Because those are usually taken an excited utterance or a death confession are usually taken seriously, because when people are dying, they want to cleanse their souls and stuff. Grandpa passed away, a year following the little one's disappearance. I know. Well, that's the case of our little Deorr. So if you girls can get Astro, get me his birth time, and just email me. I'll give you my email address, or just get me on Facebook. Joan, here, I got my Facebook info, and we'll keep mapping it for you. Keep looking. We'll keep going. And remember, you guys, I know a lot of you guys already know, October 13th is the transit class. Here is, let's see if my email's on here. Okay, ravensnestspirit@gmail.com. ravensnestspirit@gmail.com, or Joni Templeton Skinner on Facebook. There you go. So that's our a week from this weekend, with Silver Wolf, Treasures and Gifts, up at Donna's shop. He confessed to 3 different people that came to me that an accident happened at home and they used the camp to cover up. But Isaac is what keeps people at the camp by saying he saw him. Okay, so it's different stories. Jeez, oh gosh, how would you like to be that law enforcement group with all these different stories of what could occur? Who actually was the last person to see the child outside of the family? Was it daycare? Was it another family member? Do we have a last known sighting of the baby? Was it on the 9th? Do we know anything like that? That would be good to know. Yeah, it is. It's in a week from this weekend, Linda. Oh, that's sweet. Oh, you're an angel. You're an advocate. Advocates you guys take a lot of hits. I have the utmost respect for you guys. You take a lot of hits. You're angels. It's crazy what comes down as parents no more. Last sighting was the 8th. Do we know what time on the 8th? Do you have a time and a location where he was last seen on July the 8th? We might be able to, Rue, we could probably put like the 8th. Let's do the 9th and maybe do the 10th. They claim that they had gotten to the campsite around 9:30 p.m. late that night to set up camp. You know, We could try. We can keep trying. The astrology will keep going. You guys, thank you so much. Next week, I think you guys will like this mystery too. Do you guys remember the billionaire that the yacht sunk in Italy, and they kept trying to search and rescue and go get him? He was the entrepreneur with ties. Now they're finding out with multiple intelligence services owned the yacht. He was a British national, had connections with various Western governments through cybersecurity ventures. Okay. Now they are saying they are putting extra security around the site because they have found some very interesting information on the yacht. Now, adding to this mystery, Lynch, who passed away on the yacht, Stephen Chamberlain, died on the same day the yacht sank. Passed away following a jogging accident. Interesting. Prosecutors believe Lynch was unaware of Chamberlain's death when the yacht went down. We're going to take a look at it next week and see what the astrology tells us. That's another mystery. Well, Justice, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope that helped give you some information based on their words. It sure does, doesn't it? Yeah, we do. I mean, really? Yeah, you have to be very, very careful. Being sued by father. That's a shame. That's a shame. And you're trying to help with the baby. You're trying to do good, good and help try to find their son. That's a shame. That's why it's kind of like we'll concentrate on the search in the area and timestamps and let law enforcement do their work. That's the way we'll do it. And we'll keep digging. I would be blessed that my child had an advocate. It would be a blessing to have my child be an advocate. Hope they find out what happened to the little one. Have a great weekend. Or you too, Miss Denise. You guys, thank you everybody for tuning in. Don't forget, tune in next week, and we're going to check out this yacht situation. And I have another missing persons case out in the same area. This girl was on a paddleboard in Idaho, in northern Idaho. And they found the paddleboard. She's been missing since July. What's going on out in Idaho? Crazy stuff. So you guys have a great week. It's a solar eclipse week. Let this energy play out. We know it's crazy. We know it's wild. We just flow with it. Let it go. And girls, stay in touch with us. Justice, thank you for coming on. And Astro, thank you so much. And if you needed me to do anything to help y'all, please be in touch. So you guys, thank you so much. Have a great, great week. And I'll see you guys next Wednesday for another edition of Mysteries Beyond the Scenes. So good night. Have a great week. Thanks, you guys.